Hello, listeners. It's a-duhs-ah-buuh-baa here with some exciting news. We're on the lookout for sponsors to join us on our incredible journey with Inspire Change with Gunter. If your organisation cares deeply about meaningful conversations around masculinity, self development, and mental health, we'd love to partner with you. Our podcast has a wonderful, dedicated audience committed to personal growth and positive social change. By sponsoring Inspire Change with Gunter, your brand will connect with listeners who truly value thoughtful discussion and support initiatives that promote real transformation. We're incredibly proud to be ranked #1 in Australia and #5 in the USA on FeedSpot's top men's mental health podcasts. For more information on how to become a sponsor, please reach out to Miranda Spiegner Sapon, our showrunner and executive producer. We'd love to explore how we can work together to inspire change. Now, thank you for your continued support, and let's keep inspiring change together.
You're listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. To guide us through the intricacies and intersections of emotions, relationships, and male identity is renowned psychologist, author, and speaker Gunter Swoboda. This is Inspire Change.
Before I begin the actual podcast, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I work. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. Welcome everybody to another episode of Inspire Change with Gunter. I'm your host. Welcome to Inspire Change with Gunter. I'm Gunter Swoboda. I'm your host. I'm an author, a psychologist, and I'm about to tell you why at my age I chose to go back to university as a student and a researcher. If you ever thought you were too old to take on something big, this one's for you. So I had every practical reason not to do this. I've got a full clinical load, I've got a family, a really full, rich life. But there was a louder reason to do this, and that was curiosity. Also some unfinished business. I've also had unfinished questions about men, therapy, and how culture shapes our inner lives. And that voice won out. So by the end of this episode, you'll hear what tipped me over the line, what I'm actually studying, and how you can decide whether returning to study makes sense for you. Now, people often ask me, well, why go back now? So here's the truth. I'm very proud of my career, but I do not want to spend the next decade repeating myself. The field of masculinity and psychotherapy is moving. If I want to contribute at the level I expect of myself, I need to sharpen the tools, to test my ideas in the fire of peer review, and stand on the shoulders of new research. And then there's the second reason, integrity. I ask men to keep growing, to question old stories, to risk change. I can't preach growth and then coast, become a couch potato. And going back to study is me walking the talk. And there's a quieter reason. Mortality focuses the mind. You start asking what work still matters. For me, it is this. I want to help men unlearn what harms them, become relationally stronger, and build communities that thrive. So, what is it that I'm researching in plain language? Fundamentally, I've decided to investigate how traditional masculine norms, i.e. patriarchy, get inside the therapist. especially male therapists, and then show up in the therapy room, not just as ideas, but in the body, in the micro moments of practice. Think breath, tone, timing, the pull to fix rather than feel, the tendency to protect competence at the expense of connection. And competence reflects, in a sense, where we think our status lies. Now, there's two working concepts that guide me. The first one is what I call the masculine introjection. In psychotherapy, introjection is basically integrating, assimilating social memes, messages, attitudes, belief that then reside within the unconscious. It's a learned internal voice that equates competence with control, downplays vulnerable emotion, and prizes problem solving over presence in the relationship. You can hear this as get it done, keep it together, don't show too much. The second core concept is what I call the triadic habitus, which is three overlapping contexts that train us: the wider culture we grow up in, the professional training we receive, and the personal world we carry from home and history. When they align, we flow. When they fight, we feel torn. And therapy sits right in that tension. My questions are practical. When a male therapist's learned restraint meets a client's need for attunement, what happens to the alliance? Do we miss repairs because the body says, hold it in? How should we train and supervise therapists in this context? In many respects, this isn't a moral issue, but it's also a clinical skill set. Now, the other thing I'm asked is, well, why do this through a university? And my answer usually is this: because evidence and dialogues matter. I want my claims stress tested by people who may or will disagree with me. I want methods that hold up. I want to contribute to training programs, not just opinion pieces. A degree is not a vanity project. It's accountability. There's also access. Universities give you the library, the data, the ethics process, the networks. And I've really, in a way, rediscovered this wealth of a gold mine. Now, if you want your work to outlive you, build it on foundations others can stand on. And that's exactly what I want to do. For me, in many ways, this is legacy. So the other bit is the age question. Am I too old for this? Well, I had to be really honest with myself and go, okay, are there any shortcomings in my thinking? The logic, rational, the integrated, emotional sides of me, are they balanced in a way? But more importantly, are there any cognitive deficits? Now, the other aspect of this is that personally, I'm not of the school that thinks I'm too old for this, obviously. In many ways, I think I'm at the exact right age for this. I bring clinical hours, mistakes, and long memory with me. I know what actually helps men and what looks good on paper but fails in the room. Study is not a young person's game. It's a curious person's game. If anything, age cuts the fluff. If I'm too old is your story, check whether it is your voice or someone else's. Most of the time, it's a ghost from the culture telling you to shrink. So, what has returning to study changed in me? Well, firstly, humility. you don't know what you think you know until you've had to show your workings. And that's healthy. So yesterday I did a peer presentation for a conference at the university, which is going to be graded. And if I'm honest with myself, it wasn't necessarily my best piece of work, but I'm hoping that it'll hold up to scrutiny. Secondly, out of this process, you do get better questions. Instead of the old, is masculinity toxic? I'm asking which parts of learned masculinity help men love well and which parts choke intimacy? And how do we retrain the body to choose connection under stress? The third aspect is that the university is fundamentally a community. Study puts me in rooms with people who sharpen my work. Some might disagree with me. That's good. You know, iron sharpens iron. And the final aspect to this is, yes, discipline. Now, anyone looking at how I work and what I produce would say, well, you don't really need that. You're pretty disciplined. And part of me agrees, but the other part of me is also about we can always do better. My experience is that in many respects, study is less about IQ and a lot more about calendars, drafts, and recovery after setback. That discipline bleeds into everything. Therapy, writing, relationships. Now, one of the things that I've spoken about in terms of myself is that I'm essentially a perfectionist who's on a continuous journey of recovery. And so this process really forces me to put perfectionism in my pocket. So what if you were considering doing this? So here's a quick self-check. Grab a pen and answer 3 questions. Firstly, what problem do you care about enough to read, write, and argue about for 2 years? Maybe more. I'm hoping to pursue this further into my PhD. My supervisor seems very comfortable with that idea. But, you know, I'm of the thought that, well, I'm not going to count my chickens until they're hatched. The second question is, where would new training make your work more honest and useful? And thirdly, what support could you set up now so study doesn't become a lonely grind? Now, let me share with you some of the practical steps that help me. Pick a program that fits your question, not your ego. And to me, this is exactly what I've done. Now, the question that I get often around this is, well, why aren't you doing this through the School of Psychology? And part of the reason for that is that I wanted to take a look at my work through a different discipline. That discipline happens to be anthropology and sociology, and how I can build bridges between those schools of scholarship, because I think too much in our current society is running like silos. And I see that at universities. You know, the psychologists don't talk a lot to anthropologists. The anthropologists and sociologists, a little possibly disdainful, maybe I'm being a bit harsh there, of psychologists, but there isn't necessarily a lot of cross-fertilization. And this particular research that I'm working in is all about cross-fertilization. It's about bringing anthropology, sociology, and psychodynamic psychotherapy into the room and creating a dialogue in that process. And so my interest in masculinity on all sorts of different levels, whether it's from the intrapsychic personal journey of healing to the massive picture of social change, of, you know, sustainable ecological balance, because essentially we all are part of an ecology. We are not little islands unto ourselves.
I wanted to introduce you to the folks over at More Labs. They have a product called Morning Recovery. It's the #1 alcohol recovery supplement that helps you wake up clear-headed and refreshed. Clinically proven and trusted by thousands with 20 million plus bottles sold and a 4.9 star rating on Google. It works. Try it risk-free, and we will give you an exclusive discount for you to enjoy with our promo code at morelabs.com. Details and links about the company, their products will be listed in the show notes, so please check there for more information and also the direct link to our promo code.
This is seriously important in my view, and it has massive implications, not just in training psychotherapists, but just as a whole way of exploring being human. So this project for me is not about my growth. It's not only about my growth. The bigger aim is cultural. We men need better stories. We therapists need better training. Why do I say that? Because the reality is when I took a curriculum audit, I discovered that the issue of masculinity is virtually silent in our training and in our supervision. That concerns me. The other part of it, communities need men who are strong in the right place. Returning to university is one way I can help build that future with evidence, clarity, and teachable tools. So if this whole thing has stirred something in you, sit with it. Ask better questions. Back yourself. And if returning to study is part of your path, I hope you take that step. Whatever people in the media tell you that university degrees are useless, pointless, you might as well put that money into a house, they are talking shite. It's as simple as that. It's bullshit. To be educated in life experience, philosophically, professionally, and spiritually is fundamental to creating a sustainable planet, sustainable relationships, a sustainable self. So at this point, thanks for listening to Inspire Change with me. I hope that stirred something in you. Most importantly, back yourself. Follow the show, leave a review, and most importantly, share this with someone who needs permission to start again, or just to start. And I'll see you next time.
Hello to all our listeners. We thank you for tuning in and promoting positive social change. This makes you a part of Gunter's efforts in transforming not only men's lives, but lives in general, and we are grateful that you have joined us. This week, we're thrilled to announce that Ethiopia was number 20 on our global listeners list, specifically in a-duhs-ah-buuh-baa. Congratulations! We appreciate your efforts to support positive social change and thank you for joining Africa's efforts in inspiring positive social change. Next, we take a look at the USA. Let's congratulate our listeners in McGee, Mississippi for bringing your state to number 10 on the USA Top Listeners list. Congratulations! I, Devonna Prinzi, the co-executive producer, and our showrunner, Miranda Spagner-Sapone, sincerely thank you and ask that you please take the time to like, follow, subscribe, and share as your efforts make a difference to everyone here at Inspire Change with Gunter. Please remember, if you want to share your story of social change, feel free to reach out to the show directly. Please see the show notes for our contact information. As always, thank you to each and every one of our listeners, and most importantly, please keep inspiring positive social change.
Love to hear from you. And if you're interested
Please check out my work on www.guntersvoboda.com or www.goodmengreat.com.
Thank you for listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. For more information on the Making Good Men Great movement, or for individual or group coaching sessions with Gunter, visit goodmengreat.com.